You don't accidentally become strong. You drift into weakness. That's how it happens for most people. Not through one big failure, but through tiny habits repeated every day that slowly teach the brain to choose comfort over growth. 2026 is not just another year. It's a neurological checkpoint. Your brain will either lock in a stronger identity or permanently automate a weaker one. And once a habit becomes automated, it stops feeling like a choice. It becomes a default. That's why this is urgent, not motivational, not inspirational, biological. Because the nervous system doesn't care about your goals. It only reinforces what you repeat. Right now, there are behaviors you perform so often that your brain has labeled them as normal. And whatever the brain calls normal, it protects. Even if that normal is destroying your focus, your discipline, your future. So when we talk about deleting habits, we're not talking about willpower. We're talking about identity-level rewiring. In 2026, you won't rise to your dreams. You will fall to your systems. And weak systems always create weak lives. The first habit you must delete is not obvious. It hides behind a word that sounds harmless. But it is the root of mental softness. It's the habit of pause, beat for retention. Comfort-first decision-making. Most people don't ruin their future with addiction, crime, or chaos. They ruin it with one innocent question, repeated every day. Which option feels easier right now? That single question trains the brain to avoid resistance. And whatever you avoid, you become weak at. Comfort-first thinking shows up in small ways. Hitting snooze instead of standing up, choosing scrolling over silence. Eating for pleasure instead of performance. Delaying the hard task until later. Avoiding discomfort instead of building tolerance to it. At first, it feels harmless, even logical. But neurologically, something dangerous is happening. Every time you choose comfort over challenge, your brain releases relief dopamine. It learns easy, safe, hard are threat. So the next time life demands effort, your nervous system resists. Not because you're lazy, because you trained it to. Comfort slowly rewires your brain to associate struggle with danger. And a brain that fears struggle can never build strength. Strong people are not born with discipline. They are conditioned by repeated voluntary discomfort. Cold showers, deep work, silence, delayed gratification, physical exertion, saying no when the body wants yes. This is how the brain learns. I can handle pressure. In 2026, if you keep asking, what feels good right now, instead of what makes me stronger long term, your nervous system will lock into avoidance mode. And once avoidance becomes your default, ambition starts to feel exhausting. Delete comfort-first thinking. Replace it with one rule. Choose the EUE option that builds tolerance to difficulty. Because the brain you train in comfort will betray you in pressure. Your brain was not designed for constant reward. It was designed to work, wait, and then earn. But modern life flipped that order. Now most people start their day by hunting dopamine, notifications, short videos, music loops, sugar, porn, endless novelty. This trains the brain to expect stimulation before effort, and a brain that expects reward first refuses to work without it. Neuroscience calls this dopamine desensitization. The more artificial pleasure you consume, the less motivated you feel to pursue real progress. That's why studying feels heavy, reading feels boring, deep work feels painful, silence feels uncomfortable, real-life goals feel distant and dull. Your dopamine baseline is too high, so normal life can't compete. The result is a mind that jumps, craves, escapes, and avoids depth. In 2026, if you don't delete the habit of dopamine scavenging, your attention span will continue to shrink, your patience will weaken, and your goals will always feel too hard. Strong minds delay pleasure. They work first. They earn later. They train their reward system to respond to progress, not pixels. Delete the habit of constant stimulation. Replace it with boredom tolerance, single-task focus, phone-free mornings, silence without escape, pleasure only after effort, because the man who controls his dopamine controls his direction. Every action you take is preceded by a sentence in your head. Most people never question that voice. They let it run in the background like software, and that software is often corrupted. Phrases like, I'm just not disciplined. I'll start tomorrow. This is too hard for me. Others are built different. I always fail anyway. These sound harmless, but neurologically, they are commands. The brain does not argue with repeated language. It adapts to it. When you say, I can't focus, Your nervous system lowers effort. When you say, I'm tired, your body reduces output. When you say, I'm weak at this, your brain stops trying to grow the circuit. This is not motivation talk. This is identity coding. Your self-talk is literally shaping which neural pathways get strengthened and which get abandoned. In 2026, if you keep narrating yourself as undisciplined, unlucky, addicted, late, behind, broken, your brain will organize your behavior to match that story. Not because it's true, because it's familiar. Strong people don't wait to feel confident. They speak in instructions, not emotions. Instead of, I hope I stay focused, they say, I work in silence. Instead of, I'll try to be consistent, they say, I don't break streaks. Delete weak self-talk. Replace it with language that assumes control, because the voice you repeat becomes the life you live. Most people are not living their life. They are reacting to it. They wake up to notifications, react to messages, react to trends, react to moods, react to stress, react to other people's expectations. Their day is not designed, it is hijacked. And a mind that lives in reaction mode never develops internal authority. Neuroscience shows that when you constantly respond to external triggers, your prefrontal cortex, the decision-making discipline center, becomes weaker, while the emotional impulsive brain becomes dominant. That's why you say yes when you should say no. You scroll when you should work. You escape when you should confront. You follow when you should lead. Your brain becomes trained to wait for cues instead of creating direction. In 2026, if you stay in reaction mode, you will always feel busy, but never feel powerful. Always stimulated, never satisfied. Always moving, never progressing. Strong people live in command mode, not response mode. They decide the night before what the morning will look like. They choose their focus before the world chooses it for them. They act from values, not from impulses. Delete the habit of starting your day with other people's priorities. Replace it with phone-free first hour, written daily targets, one main objective, time-blocked deep work, intentional silence. Because the man who controls the start of his day controls the direction of his life.